Sibyl Talk Podcast, Episode 2. To timelessness, to fallen Sibyl spiritists, to bloodline and blood circles, the declaration. We declare and decree that all contractual agreements under the Roman Empire, British Empire, United States, England, Scotland, Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, etc., and the unum sanctum and all participating entities are destroyed, whether consensual or non-consensual. We revoke and cancel the selling, ownership, and use of our souls, our ancestors' souls, our soulmate souls, and our offspring's souls from all external entities lacking natural ownership in spirit and in flesh, in sleep and awakened states, across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. We call in the base elements to sever all soul ties. Earth, Laru, wind, La, fire, Latife, and water, Ladlo. And so it is, Ashe. Spoken word audiobook drama by Maven Studios presents King James Demonology Shenanigans. Let's recap. In Act 1, Part 2, we listen in on the Gramayes, or the grandmas, Hoodoo Sibyl and Voodoo Sibyl, as they talk about the medium or the so-called witch of Endor. Now, this is an original conversation as depicted within the book, Demonology, an argument in 3 parts by King James, where Epistemon and Philomathus, the characters he created, are having a discussion about whether or not witches are real. So we go on with the Gramayes, and they are in these positions. Now, reading for Epistemon is Hoodoo Grandma or Hoodoo Sibyl, and reading for Philomathus is Voodoo Grame or Voodoo Sibyl. And they talking about the aspect of how it could not be that the Sibyl was able to discern and tell the future of King Saul. This is a conversation that originally started off in this book, this dialogue in 3 parts by King James. We're going to get into this a little bit more, y'all. Ooh, child. Now let's go sip and talk until we tip. Welcome to the Sibyl Talk Podcast with yours truly, modern day Sibyl, High Priestess Maven, La Priestess Maven en haut. And we're honoring heritage, history, and culture, and we encourage others to do the same. Sibyl Talk Podcast is brought to you in part by Sacred Heritage International Preservation Society, or SHIPS. My sippy tonic today, once again, y'all, is just plain water. All right, let's do this. La Grande Mama and Papa of the cosmic dimension, we thank you. The ancestors and kinfolks of the bloodline on the front line. To the little bitty babies and the big ones too, we say Ashe. We began our Sibyl Talk podcast today with a very important declaration that I had the pleasure and honor of participating in as a spiritual ritual to bring in this new beginnings, I'm calling it. And there's some Sibyl talk I want to give you about the premise and the I guess, the actions that go forward from this ritual. Let's call it a ritual. I wouldn't be a Sibyl if I wasn't sharing this ancient knowledge. All right. So what we have is a new beginnings within a calendar system known as the Gregorian calendar system, which is really an accounting of commerce and trade. So when I started off this podcast, I made mention of timelessness. I want you to remember that even though we follow certain calendar systems, we are still considered to be timeless. And it's so important that we remember that in this modern day. I just want to give that little bit of shout out, a little bit of information out, and leave it right there. Because we're going to keep this a little light, and there's other venues and other platforms for that type of conversation. Okay, I'm taking a sip. Now, what I will bring to your attention on this first day of what we consider to be the calendar system that is all about trade and commerce, and the golden calf, or what they have in the depiction of a bull on the New York Stock Exchange. We start this calendar system off remembering the Sacred Mother. And I want y'all to know the significance of that right now. Sibyl Talk is all about providing information that might have been seen as secret, sacred, underground information for centuries. Now we get to talk, y'all. We're no longer in the dungeons and the basements and the secret rooms. We are now out in the light of day as those who are the civil prophetesses of the world. And it's not just a few people, it's quite a few people, quite a number of people, if I want to put it that way, that are able now to go about our businesses without being ashamed, without being afraid. The ancestor civil mothers were waiting on this day. We are the ones that they prayed for. We are the ones that they saw in their dreams, whether it was a night dream or in a daydream. We are here speaking on their behalves because we don't die, we multiply. And when we go from this flesh body and what I call the flesh coat, we go back into a dimension where we can repeat in timelessness. What is the significance of the number 13 to this country, to the one that would idolize the sacred golden calf in their world? The number 13 and the great mother go hand in hand. That's why they had 13 colonies. Get it? 13 stars and 13 stripes to begin this global economy that will spark the world. And when we listen in on the civil grandmas and they give us this information that was being pondered on by this wicked king, how can they have this magic power was the big question. How can they know this type of thing? It was baffling and it stumped so many people. But we know how, through a divine connection that can never be severed. Do what you may to the flesh coat, but you will never be able to append or apprehend the spirit or the soul. Never. Although you might take the body, you'll never be able to obtain the soul unless we give it to you under duress. But at this point, we move forward because timelessness has allowed us to come back. The Sibyls are back in effect. So let me just explain how it works. Now, you're not going to hear this too many places, but I will share with you. When a person reaps a soul and they use that flesh for their evil doing, the soul is still there. The soul sometimes hovers and watches things, and it might be knocked unconscious, but it still can hover. Much of what you hear on the Sibyl Talk podcast is not going to be found in history books. because this is an ancient underground information that's being shared. I want to give an example. For instance, if your lover was to sneak off and go and pay for the companionship of a comfort woman or a comfort man, let's just say it since we're on a mature podcast, pay for a prostitute, or as I like to keep it nice, a comfort person. They used to be called comfort women back in the day. But let's just say they pay for a comfort woman. Do you think they're going to share with you what is talked about in pillow talk? That is secret and private information. The Sibyls have always been in the background, kept for the wicked devices of those who would be considered rulers. And that's what the grandmas are having a conversation about. They're talking about how this Sibyl was visited by this wicked King Saul. Wicked King Saul had banished these Sibyls and all the priests and priestesses from the land, from the straight-laced land, that is. But we find it interesting that he found his way to her. So she gets to take the bad rap. We think about the fact that, as we discuss this, the background information that is shared within the, what I like to call cradle mysteries, is that, oh, King Saul went to go and visit this evil witch, this evil medium, calling up the dead, when in essence, he was the one who initiated the whole thing. But the real information, she was a kept woman. She was a kept woman. She had means. Because when he was all distraught and hadn't eaten in a long time because he was fasting, she worked not to send him away without giving him a little something to eat. Now, who does that sound like? Baby, let me give you a little something to eat before you leave. That's the culture, honey. That's the culture. So she seeks to give him something to eat before he leaves because he probably looked a mess. And in the interim, he leaves and we know the rest. But either way, I want y'all to remember the number 13. The number 13 is the number of the great cosmic mother. It was stricken from all things in the history books, and these Sibyls, the great Mami Wata Sibyls, and all of their legacy and their reverence will return in this era. So get ready, get ready, get ready. We're excited about it. We're happy about it, stoked about it. And we just want to make sure that you stay tuned for the next Sibyl Talk podcast. All the best to you in progress. Until next time.